Hey guys, it's Maymay, and tonight we're going to make two really cute tags. The first one we're going to start with is this guy, and then I'm going to show you how to do this one. This tag was sent to me by Jamie Slater, and the minute I saw it, I knew I wanted to recreate it. So we're going to do that one first. It takes a little bit more work to do this one, and then I'm going to show you how to do this one super quick and easy. So let's get started. Now the reason this one takes a little bit more work is because it's paper pieced. I don't know if you can tell, but that snowman scarf and his little trim on his hat is paper pieced, and then he's colored. So I'm going to show you how to do all that. So we're going to get started by just using, I went straight to my scrap drawer for this. These are all pieces from scrap. These two pieces here are 2 inches wide by 4 1/4 tall. This is about 3/8 by 2 inches. It's just going to fit down here at the bottom. And then this piece is one we're just going to use for paper piecing. I thought that red would be super cute. So first things first, let's work on this guy. We've got to do a little die cutting or punching. Now my punch died recently, my 2-inch punch, and I have not had a second to replace it. So we're going to use the Cuttlebug for this, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to use my scallop circle die. So mine won't be exactly like Jamie's, but it'll be pretty close. And that's the cool thing about this. You can just make them as close, you can do them with whatever you've got at home. You don't have to have the exact supplies. So this circle that I'm going to use is a pretty big scallop circle, and I'm just going to just eyeball it bottom to the bottom and to the side there, and then place the C plate on top and cut this just by running it through. And I'm just eyeballing this. It does not have to be perfect. Now I always send them through forward and then bring it back just because that's my habit, but you really don't have to do that. It'll cut with one pass. I failed to tell you guys that this was a Spellbinders Nestabilities die that I picked up on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and there's 6 of them in there, and I used the third one, so the kind of the center one. And we don't need this for this card, but don't get rid of this because this would be super cute if you want to use it for a sentiment on another card. So put that back in your scrap drawer. You can use it later. Now we're going to take that white piece that is our background piece, and we're going to establish where we want to stamp our snowman. And I've obviously cut this little piece a little bit too wide. No big deal, I'll trim it down when we're done. But I'm going to make a mark just to let me know where I need to stamp him. I'm kind of fidgeting to get that just right. Grab a pencil, and I'm just going to put a couple little dots just to let me know. No higher than here, here, out here. And I'm actually making the marks at the scallop because I don't want him to go too far over. If I do it at the circle of the scallop, I might get out of where I need to be. So I'm doing the little marks where the scallops came in. Now we just need our little snowman. Now this snowman comes from the Snow Peaking stamp set in my collection. However, he is sold out at the moment. He went really fast over our Black Friday sale, and so I won't have him back before the holidays. But you could use any stamp you have that does something similar to this, or you don't even have to use a stamp like this. You could use a sentiment stamp right here. Alright, we're going to stamp him in that area, right where we made the mark for him. And there we go, he is super cute. Now I'm just going to erase these little pencil marks I put in. They really won't show, but I know they're there, so I'm going to get rid of them. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this guy together with this tag piece, just so I know where I'll be working. So I'm just going to put some art glitter glue on the back of this guy, and then just stick it down. It kind of looks like a bite mark, but it's not. It's just a scallop circle. It's not a bite. So just let this kind of do its thing here. Like so. Now where I cut this too wide, I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. I just cut that bottom piece too wide. I must have cut it at 2 3/8. That's what it feels like. Or 2 1/8 rather. Alright, so I've got him ready to go with this portion. Now I want to put that piece at the bottom here. So let me get that little piece. We can go ahead and put it down before we do all the fussy cutting part. And it just gets glued right to the bottom. I thought that was so cute, such a cute little added touch. Just to have something at the bottom like a contrast so it wasn't so plain. So we'll just stick that right there. Just like that. Now I didn't have this cute little scallop tag die that she used, or punch. So I think this is actually the punch from Stampin' Up. I think this is the one where you slide it into the little punch and it punches it, but I don't have that one. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my little tag corner maker. You know, the one I have that I love so much that it's hard to find. Actually is discontinued and I haven't been able to find it anymore. I'm going to use this guy and just make a quick little tag like that and go ahead and poke a hole in the top. Now you could make a bunch of these because they are 4¼ inches tall, which means it's half of an A2 size piece of paper wide. So you could go down that A2 size piece of paper and get a lot of these out of one piece of paper. Now let's do some paper piecing. To do that, we're just going to take our stamp and our ink again, and we're going to stamp this guy onto the red paper. So we're just going to stamp the whole dude. No big deal. Just stamp the whole guy so you know you get what you need. Just get him stamped there. Let's close this up because as soon as I don't, I'll get it on my project. So now we have this little guy, and I have to let this dry for a second because I'm using VersaFine ink and it is really bad about not drying straight away. Now, if you've ever paper pieced before, you'll know exactly what I'm doing here. But if you haven't, this is what you do. You cut out the pieces that you want to have color from the stamp that you just did on the page. So I want his scarf to be this red polka dotted color. So I'm just going to take my little fussy cutting scissors and I'm just going to paper piece or fussy cut that out of there. So it's real simple. You just take your time. This is the kind of thing, if you wanted to make a bunch of these tags, this is that stuff you do in front of a movie, especially the new Hallmark and Lifetime Christmas movies. You can sit down in front of that and do it. And I like to leave the black line in place, the stamp line in place. You can cut on the inside of the stamp line, and then you can just place your colored piece inside the line, but I like to leave the black line in place. I think you get a neater finished look that way. So we're not cutting that line away, we're cutting beside it. Now you might think this is really, really time consuming, and it really kind of is, but it's the best way to do this. Even if you had a die doesn't cut right to the black line. So this is one of those things that we just have to do by hand. And we are almost done. There we go. So that's his little scarf all done. How cute. Now, she went so far as to cut this strip out of his hat, and that one took a little more work. So I'm going to do that really quick too. So here's the hat brim. This is the little tiny corner that I bet you can't even see because it's minuscule, and this is the top corner. Now when we glue them in place, you'll be able to see them really good. I'm going to go ahead and put the scarf down here. Just going to tap some glue where the white scarf is, because by paper piecing we're going to add color with the paper that we cut out. Just going to stick that guy down. And notice that he's hanging off the edge. That's okay because we cut some of him away. I'm just going to have to trim some of that scarf off too. That is super cute. So let me trim that away. So his scarf is now in place, and that's super cute. I'll bring it up closer so you can see that. All right, now let's do the hat brim. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in this section here. And then this little guy, it's just like putting a puzzle together. Fits into this little piece here. So now he has a little red polka dotted hat ribbon to match his scarf. Just like that. Cute, cute. I feel like that's a little angled. Let me bring that one up a little. And then I'm going to put these tiny dots into, which you could skip this part I think, but I think it'll be alright. I think I can squeeze them in pretty good. So I got one in. That's good. Now let's put that other tiny dot. I got it there. I'm just going to scoot it around to get it into place. Not too bad. Okay, let me bring it up so you can see it. Look at that. How cute. We're getting there. Now I'm going to use some color pencils to color him because I think that's what she used, but I could be wrong. But I feel like because it didn't bleed through the back that it's not a marker, but I'm not sure. If you want to do this with your Copics or something like that, you can certainly do that. I'm just going to use these colored pencils. So I'm going to color in his nose to give him some color here. And these are actually watercolor pencils, and that's just what I had close, and I'm just going to use them, and I'm not going to stress about it. Y'all know my theory. I'm not going to stress about it. All right, so there's that. I'm going to color his hat. And you don't have to do any real shading. You can if you want to. You can get as fancy as you want with this guy, or as simple as you want. You might feel more comfortable to stamp him and color him off of the project and then come back and put him on the project, and I understand that totally. So if you want to do that, feel free to go ahead and do the coloring before you ever assemble your whole project, because if I make a mistake, I'm just going to be stuck with it at this point. So there he is, all colored with my watercolor pencils and paper piece like he's supposed to be. Now he needs some ribbon and some twine. So here's what we're going to do. I don't have that burlap twine she used. I just used the last bit of mine. So I'm just going to use some ribbon and some not baker's twine, some thread. Show you how we're going to make this happen. Let's cut some ribbon off of this spool. I'm just going to feed this through the hole that I made earlier. Just like this. Now I've told you before that I always like to leave more ribbon at the top than I need because I don't know what package I'm going to tie this on. I like to wrap with gift bags, so I will tie this to the gift bag. That's a little more than I need, so I'm just going to come up here and trim away, just like so. So I'll leave about that much ribbon. Now to tie it, I have this red glittery thread. It's kind of like embroidery floss, and I'm just going to tie this onto that ribbon, and then I'm going to tie a bow at the top. So I'm going to pull that snug. Tie it one more time so that that knot will stay snug. Just like that, and then make a bow. So there's my version and Jamie's version, so I just totally copied her idea, but I think it is so cute. So there's one idea for your snow peaking stamp set and for your Christmas tags. One thing I wanted to tell you was this. If you didn't have a stamp like this that you could use, you could always just use a sentiment stamp right here in this section. Maybe it says Merry Christmas, or it says something kind of in a tall way it's laid out, and it would fit in that little section. You could do that too, but I think this is super cute. All right, let me show you another tag. This piece of paper is 2.5 inches wide, and it's 8.5 inches long, and I have scored it at 4 1/4, okay? So this tag is gonna be a little more simple, but it'll still look super cool. I'll show you what I mean. I'm gonna fold this in half where I've scored it, so we're just gonna get a folded in half tag start. This is gonna be our tag. And while I've got it like this, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna punch these corners, just like so. Now I'm going to get my Cuttlebug out again. Now for this tag, I'm going to use the very same scallop circle, and I'm going to lay it in almost the very same way. But remember, I have folded this tag, so I've got two sides to it. So now this die is going to go through both of those sides, and so we're going to have to run it through our machine a couple times. I'm going to run it through and then back through, and that ought to give us a nice cut. And I'm not being real picky about where that die lands, just kind of in the same area as our last tag. Now if your machine doesn't cut through real well, you might want to put a shim in there because we are making it go through 2 pieces of paper. So let's see how that did. And it's 2 pieces, remember, because we folded it in half, but that worked really well. So see how that came right off? Perfect. So what we end up with now is our tag shape with this hole cut out of the center. Let me open that up. See how this works? It's kind of, it's folded over and it has our hole out of the middle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stamp that little snowman on this piece that's going to be inserted into our fold over tag. So our tag's not very sturdy right now, but it'll be fine once we get it all done. And I really should have already done these corners, but I forgot. So let's do that real quick, these angle edges, so that it will match. And if any of that hangs off, we can always go back and trim it. All right, so I'm just going to hold these guys together like this. I haven't put it in there. I'm just holding it together front to back so I can see where to stamp. And I'm just going to stamp right on top of there just like that. So bring our little stamp back over and ink it up. And then I know right where I want it to go, so I'm just going to hold him in this area and stamp. Perfect. Now I'm going to open this up. I've got ink on my fingers, so I want to keep it off of everything. And I'm going to put some glue on the inside first, and we're going to glue down one side and then the other of our tag. So we'll glue down this side. And the biggest thing we want to do is match up the side with the hole out of it. You want to make sure that that is lined up evenly. Okay, and then we'll put glue on the other side and sandwich it together. You could cut 2 separate pieces out if you wanted to. I just thought the fold made this easier. Now I'm going to do a little trimming here where I'm not perfectly lined up. No big deal, just slice it, and that'll make it nice and clean. And at the bottom too, it's hanging over just a little bit on the bottom. Not very much. just little slivers. So see how cute he is already, so super simple. Now I'm going to go ahead and poke the hole for him at the top, and I'm using that same Crop-A-Dile, and I do like to use the larger hole because I think ribbons and things go through it easier with the larger hole than the smaller one. Now let's do a little decorating. This is what makes him a little different than the last one. We're not going to do any paper piecing. This is a white Sakura jelly roll pen, and everywhere I have a scallop point, I'm going to do a dot. I think this really sets off this scallop and keeps it from looking like a shark bite. That's what I'm trying to avoid because I'm using my scallop circle, and I think this makes it look a little less sharky, a little more festive. The other thing I did was I did some stitch lines because you know how much I love stitch lines, especially on tags. So I just took that same pen and did some dash lines all the way around. So there's all the white portions of the card done. And if you're not a person that likes to color, this one's going to be perfect for you. This is my glitter, what is this called? Clear Star from Sakura pen. And I'm going to go through here and using the glitter pen, I'm going to color in some of the spots. Now I chose to use this glitter pen because it leaves a silver glitter behind, so it will be a little more full than if I used my Wink of Stella, because I only have the clear and the red in those, and that clear Wink of Stella won't get quite this silver. I'm also going to put a couple of dots in his little eyes to give him a little sparkle, and I'm going to color his hat in the silver. So here they are all finished. My camera just quit on me, but I put the little ribbon in right here just with a little slip knot, and I hot glued a bow on top of that one so you could have the big fluffy ribbon at the top. And there they are, completely finished and all inspired by Jamie's little tag that she sent me. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you recreate any of these tags, I'd love to see them on our Facebook group, which is called Maymay Made It, and so did I. I love to see what you guys are creating, either like this or anything else. We also have 2 contests going over there right now. One called Snow Crafty, where you could certainly enter these kind of projects into, and the other is Deck the Walls, where we are decorating our Facebook walls of our group with Christmas trees. So we're asking that you guys take a photo of your Christmas tree and upload it to our page using the hashtag Deck the Walls. And when you do that, you're entered into our contest to win a stamp set, and that contest goes till December 18th. So head over, there's links below to everything. Even if you'd like some of the stamps that I might have used today, these are out of stock, but there are other stamps still in stock. A few more Christmas sets are left, and there are links to that below too. Have a great weekend, guys. I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.